Yeah, we're back on. We're back up and running. Oh, yeah, that's it. You've got to keep it on there.
Buzzing. Right, guys. So I will. I'll just carry on from where we were. So basically, what Jamie was talking about there, the sort of ways that we can make progress. Well, here's some points for strength that we can focus on to do more and to improve. So we can improve the movement, which means that if you're doing partial squats or partial Bulgarian split squats or anything like that, you're only able to do a partial movement rather than a full movement, where you can improve the movement. So, for example, a single leg squat, if you're really advanced, a single leg squat might go into a pistol squat. It's just generally a better movement to do that. Might not be anything to do with that. It might be that your good sort of double leg squat is just a better squat. You're just able to get a little bit deeper. You're able to have a little bit more control through it. You can do more reps. You can do more sets. You can increase the weight. That's probably the only thing that most people are struggling with at the minute from a direct increase. But then we can look at mechanical loading. So we can look at how you set your body up to basically increase the weight of the exercise. So I'm not going to go into that. It gets a little bit complex, but when you look at exercise mechanics, there's loads of ways that we can do this to get a little bit stronger.
VMA sets.
What?
VMA sets.
I don't mean VMA sets. You can look at obviously the exercise difficulty itself. So again, if you're doing something like I don't know, let's say press up from your knees, you can go into a press up from your feet, and then you can elevate your feet and you can improve it that way. Or you could go into a single arm press up, things that are just progressive.
I think it's really important, Josh, just to jump in again. We've missed the Boris thing now, so it doesn't matter how much you talk for. I think it's really important that we identify this, because there seems to be a bit, I presume that most of you guys are thinking, well, why have I never heard this? These are all factors. Why do I not understand this quite as much when I'm in the gym? And to be honest,
no idea, because they're all on the members site.
I was going to say that the thing is, the difficulty that me and Josh have had up to this point so far with this program is probably expecting people to know about something because we've done a video on the members site that maybe hasn't been seen. And maybe sometimes when we come into the gym, it's a bit easier for you to understand this because you just do what you're told by your coach. You don't necessarily have to know why you're doing it. You don't question it quite as much as what you do when you're doing it at home based off a piece of paper. So all of these things, better movement, excuse me, just put that leg there, more control. We do this as we're coaching. The reason why we think it's important for you guys to be told this now is that everything that we are saying as coaches actually is now taught in the videos and now taught as like part of what we're trying to teach you, that actually this is why you do that. This is why you change your foot position in a squat. This is why we do 15 reps if we can now. And this is why we add more weight each week. This is why we slow you down. And the way down, by the way, is eccentric. I know someone was asking that last week. And this is what this is. We're teaching you now.
Unless you're doing a lat pull down.
Oh God! Don't please. Yeah.
Yeah, guys. More time under tension. When we talk about time under tension, we put tempos into this one so that we can control things like time under tension.
Tempos. If you haven't watched the videos, you probably need to watch the videos, because I know tempos is the 3, 2, 1, and then back up. Just so everyone's aware, that sort of thing is a tempo.
Speed of the movement. But when you're counting your tempos, please be aware that 90% of the time you're going to speed up. So you're going to be going 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And I even did it today on one of the videos I put on the workout. I was back and I was literally counting at that sort of speed. So when we're thinking about tempos, please be aware. So 3 1,000, 2 1,000, 1 1,000, and then go that way. Cheers. So really important that you guys understand.
I think it's really unfair, Josh, that you have Kayla at home bringing your bruising like we do at work, and I've got Archie outside swinging off the banister.
Yeah. Well, choices.
Yeah, really you want to learn that. It is something. But the other thing, good question. How do you count tempos and reps at the same time? I agree with that. And sometimes
You don't need to count reps, just do what you can. wait till you fail.
We get that a lot though, don't we? It is difficult. I get that some people find it difficult. 3, 2, 1. But when you go 3, 2, 1, go 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1. That's how.
Unless I do a tempo on both, which I generally have on this phase.
Yeah,
In which case,
so you just have to learn. Just struggle.
Yeah, guys. Reps. To be honest, they've just got to fit sort of in that area. So because we're working on body weight, one of the things that can change quite a lot is the number of reps. If I've put 8 and you get to 8 and you know that you've got 10 more that you could do for this week, do 10 more and let me know.
Absolutely.
Do 10 more, comment and say, this is what I've done. And what I'll probably do, if someone messages me and says, I did 20 typewriter press ups at the 3-3 tempo, then I'll be saying, you send me that video. And if you've done it well, then I'll submit it to whoever, get it on Instagram, get it going viral or whatever, because that'll be impressive.
But I think that's a really good question though, because people do have that, don't they? And I think I had one of the lads say, I did 4 rounds. I reckon I could have done a 5th. And I think, is there an opportunity for sometimes don't worry too much about the numbers of what you're doing. If you're on that last set and you think you can get another 2 or 3 reps out, then do. If you think that, you're done on 6 and you can't do another good one and it's going to be all over, then stop on 6. It's not as important as what I think that sometimes we put value on. I know it's good people like having a number to go and get, but from our point of view, Josh, I don't know if you count reps with clients. No, mine, they might start off, some of you watching will get annoyed at me because I'll be like, well, is it heavy enough or not? It's not necessarily about whether or not you can get 10. It's how you feel on that last 2 reps.
Yeah, and if we were all working 10 reps and the exact same tempo and things like that, we've got to bear in mind that what that's assuming is that you're all at the exact same level. We know that you're not. The way that we differentiate this is doing, different tempos. Yes, we can change the exercise, which is why the regressions are in there. But if you're somewhere near, you're still not going to be at the same level. So you still want, if you're working with body weight, still want to change things. One thing that I do want to mention on this is that if you've been training for a while, you're dead lean, you're in pretty good shape, and you find body weight exercises fairly easy, fairly comfortable, please be aware that, when you're doing a body weight squat, you're stronger, and the exercise, if you've sort of got to your body weight target and things, is actually easier for you as well. So if someone's carrying a little bit more weight a little bit earlier on their fitness journey, doing that body weight squat is a hell of a lot more difficult than it would be for someone that's pretty lean, already got in shape and strong. If you're strong and lean, your body weight squat is nowhere near as difficult, and it's not going to possibly challenge you anywhere near enough. So we'll have to put other exercises in, regardless of what we do with the tempos. I
had that as well about one of the fitter clients asked me this morning. Oh yeah, but I did that with a kettlebell. Is that okay? Of course it is. Of course it is. At this stage now, you all know your body's well enough to do that. So yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. It is but this is completely true as well. And and then this is why it doesn't always work with people training together, is that if it's a harder exercise for one person, even trying to stick to the same rest times then becomes it's not something that we usually do. If you're lifting 50% of your max weight and someone's lifting 20%, your rest time and your reps numbers and things like that should be different. So just things to be aware of. We need to be considering this, and this is why we need all the feedback that we can, because this program's a starting point, and it's going to tweak and adjust and move individual for each of you based on these conversations that we have. So get the check-ins in, get everything back to us, get the feedback back, because that's going to allow us to make these changes. In terms of what you can really achieve at home, genuinely, with the exception of, unless you've got a barbell and plates and things like that, with the exception of pure absolute strength development in terms of you're going to get a better bench press, a better deadlift, a better squat. For now, probably not. However, you can certainly be much more stable to go back into your squat. You can develop a improved recovery time. So it can mean that you're months back in the gym when you get in, even if you are that 1% of people that's goal is based on a barbell. Well, what you can do is set up so that you're in a perfect position to move forward. If it's anything to do with body composition or overall health or movement quality,
body
Training at home
composition and
absolutely isn't limited.
yeah, and how people look, because I think a lot of the lads that I train and a lot of lads that I've spoke to this week have been like, oh yeah, but will I lose this muscle? You know, I got to this weight and this. Don't forget, lads, that we're, I say lads like it's just lads, but obviously anyone that's watching that wants to gain or build muscle is that sometimes you do that to
Or
look better.
maintain.
So yeah, sometimes you're doing this to look better. And if we're being totally honest, the majority of the time, for people to look better, there becomes different stages, and you go maybe a bulking stage, a cutting stage. You just need to maybe rethink your goals, and this is going to be the opportunity just before summer hits to focus on that fat loss stage, maintain your muscle mass by doing what we tell you to do, but really double down on this as being a great opportunity for your body to look miles better in 8 weeks' time. If body looking is your main goal at the minute, like Josh said, it shouldn't be the thing that everybody thinks about. Some of you should be thinking about, well, how do I correct this before I get back to the gym? How do I fix this little niggle that I've been having for the past year that I've never had an opportunity to break as much out of training for? These questions do come from week 1, week 2's webinars, and just writing that down and knowing on a weekly basis. That the great thing about the review form is knowing on a weekly basis, resetting. How did I do last week? What was my problems? What were my challenges? What do I need to fix this week? And really, get very clear. Pen and paper time. All right, Josh, next one. Yeah. Oh, what about heart rate? Sorry.
Cool. Well, basically with heart rate, guys, it's just a question that came up again this week. We'll cover it after, but heart rate you can track for your strength sessions, absolutely. But it is 99% of the time it's not important. You are looking for these metrics, you're looking for these things, you're looking at different types of stimulus. What your heart rate's doing, yeah, it might be important to know for certain situations, but in general, that's not an adaptation that you're looking to create, which means that your heart rate doesn't need to be any particular zone. If your heart rate's lower, the quality of work potentially is better. We can't say that that's what's going on, but it could be. So you just can't use heart rate at all to monitor whether your strength training session is good. Sometimes if you're in sort of a high heart rate all the way through, it can actually just indicate that you're not doing enough quality work. You're doing too much quantity work. So you're basically trying to get through the reps, you're rushing your rest times and things like that. And you're not giving yourself a chance to recover, to replenish the energy systems that you need to then do a good set. So really important. We can't say good or bad, but realistically, the way that you should look at it is indifferent. Is monitor it if you want to monitor your full week, but it's not going to tell you anything useful really about that strength training session. With regards to cardio sessions, it's obviously dead useful, but there's some other factors as well as heart rate that we can look at. So we can look at how far you've gone, how fast you've ran. If it's something that's more HIIT type cardio, you're doing squat jumps or burpees, you can look at how many. But really important is make sure that this is never, ever at the sacrifice of technique, unless it's for some sort of competition, obviously, in which case there might be an argument for it. In training, there's just not. We just need to be making sure that your technique is taking priority, especially if these are new movements to you. Get the technique, because until you've done it thousands of times, your body's still learning that movement pattern, and it's still going to make a lot of mistakes.
Just
so really
explain what you mean cardio, because some of the sessions that we put in are cardio based, aren't they? Mainly, they're not really strength development.
Yeah. So what I mean by cardio on this is that basically like anything that's targeted not towards the stuff that we spoke about, not towards the strength stuff. So not targeted, not towards developing strength, reducing injury risk, and things like that. If we look at this, not towards these areas of build strength, build muscle mass, improve function, reduce injuries. These are all our strength training sessions. So anything that's strength is that. Anything that's cardio is on this, in somewhere along this spectrum. Now, I've not gone into different types of cardio yet, obviously. Improve health, fitness, or performance. Now,
and be clear about fat loss, guys, happens in both types of session. There's not, obviously calories are a big thing that you can demand a lot of in cardio sessions, but fat loss works, it's so complex when we talk about nutrition and dieting, that it is so complex that if you do one type of training, it will be better for fat loss than another. If you do, even if the calories are the same, this is the point, is even if the calories can be similar, one will be more optimal for fat loss. Just the same as two sessions that are equally as difficult in the strength room, one will be better.
And I suppose that one of the key points there as well is that it's not always the same type of session that's better. It not only, it depends on you in this context, in this entire situation at the minute. Yeah. So really important, it's not, this is probably why people get so confused. Oh, I should be doing HIIT training. No, I shouldn't be doing HIIT training. I should be doing steady cardio. I shouldn't be doing steady cardio. I should be doing fasted cardio. I shouldn't. It depends what the context is. Bigger picture, step back. If you're looking to sort of improve the cellular function, like the cellular level of being able to tap into them fat stores, yeah, fasted cardio is fine. But if you're doing fasted HIIT training, it's in almost all circumstances, it's pretty daft unless you're training for an event that is going to require you to do higher intensities when you're not fed. You know, there's all of these factors that we need to consider all the time for people. So these are things that go through our mind. You don't really need to think about it too much. What you need to consider is that lower intensity cardios require less recovery. Higher intensity cardios require at least as much and probably more recovery. I mean, and this is again situation dependent. I went for a 5K run last week, first one that I've done for a while, and I did about 14K when we did the 10K a couple of weeks ago. Fitness wise, breathing wise, I train on the air dynes at work, and I occasionally will jump on a rower. I'll use a cross trainer. I'll do different types of fitness work. So while I'm running, feel pretty much all right. I've done a lot of running in the past, and then it got to the day after, and my legs were battered. I couldn't really do anything for like 3 or 4 days. I had a massive sort of gap in recovery because it was a new exercise, because it was something that basically creates this amount of stress. It was building up these different metabolites. It was a different type of stress on my system, and it required longer recovery, even though it didn't feel that bad. So sometimes you'll do cardio sessions and you'll feel like you've recovered perfectly, but have you replenished the energy to then go into your strength training session? So the one way that I like to, if you've not got a heart rate monitor, if you use a heart rate monitor and you're comfortable to go for a jog and keep your heart rate at 130 beats a minute, and your max is 170, 175, then fine. That'll mean that you're pretty much guaranteeing that you're in that aerobic zone, you're in that low intensity zone. One way that you can hack this without a heart rate monitor, cool. One way that you can hack this without a heart rate monitor is breathing without really sort of mouth breathing. So just nasal breathing, as long as you've no issues, illnesses and things like that, just breathing through your nose. If you can't do that, you're probably going a little bit too quick to be guaranteeing that you're in that aerobic zone. And it's just something that you can use without massive investments to say, where am I at this? If you're really struggling to do that, it should be fairly comfortable if you're doing an aerobic only training session. But even then, some of the stress in terms of recovery might be localized on your muscle rather than on your entire system. So again, we've got to look at it person to person. Metrics. So again, cardio will improve things like resting heart rate, recovery heart rate, and blood pressure, providing that you're using it right. So if you're doing loads of high intensity training and that's all you're doing, you smash this all the time, what you'll find is that your resting heart rate actually increases, your recovery heart rate will probably increase due to fatigue. And if you're not allowing yourself to recover, you're constantly giving it this sort of sympathetic drive, then your blood pressure is probably going to start to increase as well. So there is a time and a place for different types of cardio, just making sure that
Just so that everyone's aware, me and Josh Sorry, Josh. Me and Josh consider all this for you guys. We look at this. But we thought it was important that we sort of told you a little bit about it, because for some of you, you might think, oh, I'm doing the right thing because I'm working this difficult, when really it might not be giving you the result that you wanted. So we will advise you on it. I know Josh said there about 5K run. For some of my clients, I give them a 5K run for recovery, as recovery. I would literally say go for a steady 5K jog every day to recover. And it is so context dependent on the individual that you need to just sort of think about that, think about your body, think about what you've been used to, what you've been doing. Think about, like I said, basically training, we're trying to provide our body with a stimulus, and different stimulus generate different results. Think about adding a weight. It's a new stimulus. Your body's not used to having to push its arm up without that weight in its hand. That's what creates the result. It's exactly the same with cardio. You know, things that are different, things that aren't normal, things that is you know, out of the ordinary, stress on your body, is where this sort of comes in a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just conscious about time, Josh, because I know we've been on for an hour now, and I know I've been talking as well. How long have we got left, just so people know?
Three or four slides, not long, 10 minutes.
Okay.
Ish, maybe a little bit longer, it depends. Guys, all I want you to do on this bit, I want everybody to drop something into the comments or into the questions, because how much is too much? So for you, would you be concerned about doing more work or less work? You know, would you be happy to just train 4 times a week? Just give me an idea on what your current training is. Just based on this, you know, if you're happy to drop it in, give me an idea on your current training and any questions that you've got about, obviously, whether adding something in is going to be too much. We'll come back to it at the end. So please just make sure that you drop that in and then I can cover it later on. So, guys, body composition change. This is mega, mega important. Body composition change comes down to these 3 things. So basically it is completely 100% down to energy balance, but we're looking for 2 factors of it. We're looking for preservation of muscle or increasing muscle if you're trying to gain muscle mass, and a reduction or maintenance or close to maintenance in body fats, whatever area of that is aligned with your goals. Now, what I look at as a coach is I need to look at the calories that you're actually consuming. So one of the questions that we've had was, you know, should I really be tracking my calories? And this was for weight loss, but it goes back to one of the questions that we've had on here earlier. Should you be tracking your calories? If it's not too difficult to do, then to be honest, yes, because you're working with a coach, and the only thing that we can do initially to help guide you in terms of more food, less food, and know that that's what's going on, is to see what you're actually consuming at the minute from an amounts point of view and a food types point of view. We can help with both, but we need you to be recording that and letting us know. If not, then it becomes a guessing game. If you're on 1,200 calories a day and we say, right, you need to stop dieting because you've been on that now for 6 months, and realistically, I'd only want you doing that for 12 to 16 weeks.
That came up to us, didn't it, today, Josh, is that, you know, sometimes it's really, really difficult for people that have been tracking calories and track calories a lot and been used to it to actually see mistakes that might be quite clear to us. We might have we might be told something, you might believe something, that there might be something that you've been doing wrong for the past 2 or 3 months as well. So having an open and honest conversation about your food and actually thinking about that in your review sheets, I think is mega important. Your checking forms, looking at what you've done versus what you take in. The majority of people that tell us about worried about losing weight, losing muscle, losing, you know, gaining fat, majority of the time they've not considered one of these key areas, and there's not putting one above the other, I don't think, is there, Josh? You know, we have to look at this and consider it all as a whole. This is a puzzle. If you miss 100%. One of these out, like let's say sleep and stress, hence why last week, you know, I say what's your priority, what do you need to get control of this week, because if you're missing one of these out, you can really be impacting, and obviously new program, you know, maybe lack of sleep, maybe worry, all this different sort of things. You'll see that I actually recommend to people sometimes to, you know what, go and concentrate on your sleep, go and concentrate on your stress, rather than trying to do more training, do more of that. Just give yourself like a step out of everything and look at what's on this picture. It's a good slide. Take a screen.
Yeah, the bigger picture, guys, you know, the full picture of this again is like massively condensed, because when we're saying sleep and stress, there's a hell of a lot of factors to all of this, but it's just things that we need to be aware of. You know, how much training you do. We can't look at just nutrition. I never would look at just nutrition. So if you're missing the calories side of things, then we're going to struggle to give you advice in terms of what you should do, not just for body composition change, but also for, are you eating enough to optimally recover, to improve your performance, to build muscle mass? Because realistically, again, that's one of the top factors that we really need to know. There's other ways to monitor though. That's not just MyFitnessPal. If you want to be doing photos, if that's much easier for you, we can get an idea of that and we can then adjust food. So if we know that you need to eat less carbs and more protein, we can tell you food changes to make rather than numbers changes. It is something that we do, but again, it's a little bit more difficult to be accurate. However, I'm absolutely fine if people prefer doing that, but it's just a little bit more work for you to be storing all your photos so that you can fire them over to us as and when you can to go through.
Someone's just asked, Josh, I won't mention names, but tracking absolutely everything, including low calorie and tonic water, etc. Although I'm happy with the shape change, I'm expecting to lose more weight than I'm doing everything given I'm so overweight. Well, let's just think about the context of that, is that that calorie deficit will certainly be there. And this is what Josh said earlier on about where people are in comparison to whether or not that should be their focus. You know, just because someone comes through the door at FX and says, I want to drop weight, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're just going to keep going with that deficit until it starts to come off. We like people to be as healthy and as fit as they can, to be in a good mindset, to be sleeping well, to be really healthy individuals before we allow them to go into a weight cut. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to be like that. Don't get me wrong. Some people get better results by, you know, just ignoring everything else in their life that's going on and just concentrating on weight loss. But for anyone that's a parent or anyone that's got a job or got stress or got other things that they need to consider equally as important as weight loss, I think that, you know, there's other things that, again, back to that, what really is it that this person's trying to achieve, feeling good about yourself, that certainly won't happen in some of the weight loss sort of situations. So don't worry too much. If your goal is fat loss, consider like the things that you need to get control of this week, because eventually once you've had them few messy weeks where you're up, down, maybe not losing as much as you want to, once you get everything right, it will start to go at a steady rate. And, you know, 1 or 2 pounds a week is in reality all that we need to be doing. And
I think that it's really important to mention that, yes, if you're dieting perfectly and you've got this right from the start, and gone into a calorie deficit from the start, that you can gradually be losing like 3 or 4 pounds and then dropping down to like 1 or 2 a week and carry on with that. But what most people do is that they end up getting to this stage where the body's just not been taking on enough energy for too long. That's why I generally, when I diet people down, it is, unless it's a very steady diet, it's relatively short term, 12 to 16 weeks. It's sort of usually top end before I'll do a month or so where they back up at maintenance. And it's to help prevent this. It's because sometimes we end up driving everything up sort of so low in terms of what our metabolism's actually doing. Like, people can argue this all they want, but when you look at it from a cellular level, your body's going to be struggling to use as much energy. It's going to be trying to conserve energy. And if you're training more and the dieting harder, yes, we could train even more and take your calories even lower. But there's a certain point where we know that on every other function, because if you've not got enough energy, and this is for everyone, this is in general, if you've not got enough energy, what happens is that your body starts to shut down processes that aren't essential to them. And if we look at long-term health, everything that protects long-term health is not essential right now for your body to do. Your body's just trying to survive right now. So it's as much an ethical decision as anything. As we want someone to be healthy and succeeding and getting in shape long-term, and able to do this, then sometimes it's a decision of take a bit of a step back.
Yeah, let's be clear as well that the time scales that we can do this, it's not that we can't give someone a deficit and we can't get people to drop big, massive amounts of fat. And I think that it's pretty not easy for us to do, but as long as you follow what I say. But I don't really think that that's what people's main goals should be focused on all the way through this, and especially not over a period of, say, 3 months, 8 weeks or whatever. If we look at longevity of programs, and we've spoken about this as well, if we look at like the long-term goal in 6 months' time, where do you want to be? You know, losing a tiny bit of weight each week to take you to there is much better than us going straight in with.
I'm not gonna move the slides. I'm not gonna go back. But if we think back to that one of the first slides, which was, where are you right now? Are you at that point where you've been eating plenty for a long time, where you've been exercising but not doing that much, where everything's fitting into place for a weight loss journey? Or are you somewhere else where everything's been fitting into place for, realistically, we need to look at something else as well? Because it could be that. It could be that, we have to consider, when we look at nutrition, just nutrition, nothing else. But we have to consider the two sides of digestion, what's actually getting into your system, and what's being rebuilt properly and things like that. So what's being assimilated in your system. And then we have to look at it from the cellular level as well, of what's going on in it from a metabolism point of view. How well are your cells using that energy that's getting into them? And these are genuine considerations. You don't really need to think about it that much, but these are what we're trying to look after long-term for you. So again, just things to consider.
Yeah, let's move on, Josh.
Absolutely. So yeah, guys, I mean, I think that we've covered most of this. Other movement and activity, we've got to be mindful of NEAT and of normal sort of day-to-day movement. Now, once we've got all of this big picture, we then make the decision on it. So that's all I'll say from there. But again, times pulling back into this preparation phase rather than transformation phase is massively important for everyone. But you just do it occasionally. It's not a long-term phase, but something for me, about half of your time should probably be spent in that sort of phase if you want fast results when you're in a diet phase or in a building phase. About half of your time for me. Now, there are other ways to do it, but that's the best way. Right, guys, nearly the last thing. Nutrition routine, what works for you? All I wanted to mention is that a lot of the questions that's come up has been about being so out of routine and so all over the place with nutrition. Ask yourself a couple of really key questions. How many times a day would you want to eat? Be reasonable, so ideally between sort of 3 and 6, if we can do that. Let's take your meal times. Dead easy, regardless of whether you're at home or not. Set the times where practically you're going to be able to eat, just like if you were at work. That fits around your routine. So you might want to eat as soon, or you might not want breakfast. You might not want to eat as soon as you get up. You might want your first meal at 11 a.m. and then your second one at 2, and then one at 6, and then a bit of something before bed. If that's how you want to do it, fine, we can work with that. But set your meal times. Next one, make sure that you've got the food in that you need to obviously stick to your diet, and make sure that you're aware in terms of calories and macros and things like that. Now, this might not be that you're tracking it and scanning it. Depends what level you're at. It depends what you're trying to achieve. This might just be that you have a rough awareness of how many calories are in that meal and how much food you need to make that meal up. And obviously, once we're doing that, you can plan the amounts in each meal. What I would say in terms of when I'm saying plan the amounts, obviously say, right, well, I'm going to have half a bag of Uncle Ben's rice with some chicken and a microwavable pack of veg. Well, fine, because what we can do is say, right, chicken breast, half pack of this rice, got some veg, we can track that. That's easy enough to sort of track, to record. And you know that you might want, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them in a day, and it might be pretty much where your calories are.
The amount of healthy eaters that struggle with it, like people that struggle because they're healthy eaters, but you can add the full recipe. If it's a bolognese that you make all the time, you only need to do it once, and then it's sat in there.
Exactly. And guys, this is the most important bit for me. Create your go-to meals. So your go-to meals are basically the things that you are.
Not kebabs.
Not kebabs, but it literally is the exact same sort of driver in terms of when you can't be asked to make anything, and when you've had a long, stressful, difficult day, make the go-to meals the easy option. So I use one of the examples, I think. In fact, I've put it on the next slide. So they've got to be easy. They've got to be quick. You've got to have a rough idea of what sort of macros you need in their meals. We obviously can use things like protein shakes. That's a really easy option. Protein bars, and you just need to know which one to select, which one fits the numbers. For me, genuinely, tuna, rice, and veg. I'll have that all the time because when I'm hungry, because it fits my numbers. Or I might swap the tuna for chicken, or we might have some sort of salmon and veg or something like that. Salmon salads. There's all of these go-to meals that I've got that are just really easy to do. And you need to have your list of these. You need to have a list of when I really can't be asked, but I still want to stick to my diet, what's going to take me 2 minutes to get right, to sort out so that I am still on my diet. So you can be as inventive as you want with your cooking, but if you can't be asked tracking that, then realistically, or you can't be bothered sort of actually cooking it for that day, make sure that you've got these go-tos that are your easy options so that you don't end up collapsing and getting the chocolate and the biscuits from the fridge or putting a pizza in from the freezer and things, because, or worse, and sort of ringing a takeaway stuff. Obviously, occasionally we can come off your diet, but this is pretty much going to help you stop. So guys, for the presentation, before we get to the questions, that's it. If you've got any other questions that come through, obviously let me know. Protein in kebabs, yeah, absolutely.
I think what we're going to do is, when we put this up, Josh, I think we'll split it into two halves. So this might be the end of the second video. I don't think there's any need to have the Boris clapping in the middle of our nutrition content. So we'll probably edit the video, take that out, and put part A and part B. It has been a little bit longer than we wanted to, so thanks for staying with us, guys that have, and those that aren't, those that haven't, I will. We'll sort this out. There's quite a few sort of saying they had to go.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll get it uploaded anyway.
Guys, well, I think that's enough from us. Thank you for your check-ins.
Hang on. I need to answer some of these. We can split it again, but I am still going to answer these, because otherwise I've got.
I thought you'd answered these in the thing. That's all.
So guys, some of the questions that we have had, which plan's best for me? Because we've obviously got the two options at the minute: fundamentals plan or the advanced. If you're struggling from a skill level with, or impact level or injuries level or anything with the plan that you've been on last week, go on to the fundamentals. I guarantee that finding the plan that is right for you, the same as we spoke about last week in terms of exercise regressions, finding a plan that works for you that is at your level will always lead to better results. And when I say struggling, not just that the workouts have been hard, but some of the movements have been really awkward and you've not really been able to do it. If you go onto a plan that is at your level, you're going to get better results. Dead simple. You can work through it and you're not going to get injuries and issues come up, which might be likely from trying to work through a plan that's too different. That's why we've put two different plans together. If you're not sure, watch all the videos on the app, all of the workout videos, and certainly the two fundamentals ones, and see if that seems more like your sort of training. Should use heart rate monitor to monitor strength sessions. We've spoke about, I eat healthily, should I track calories? Absolutely. We spoke about that as well, because it came up again with this. Adding in yoga, jogging, things like that. Just to clarify, we can add other things in. What you've got to consider is it going to be a detriment? So when you're adding extras in, please speak to me, please ask, and just say, Josh, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Can I add this? Because if you're trying to build muscle and you're going for a 8K run every day because it's what you can do in 45 minutes and then stretch, then that's going to have a detrimental effect. If your main goal is building muscle, building strength, and you're doing that every day, regardless of whether you're sort of used to running, unless you keep your intensity lower, just because of the total energy levels that you're using. However, that detrimental effect might be absolutely tiny. You might get a big cardio benefit versus obviously a much bigger effect for other people. Where are we at? Focusing on strength. Should you change the plan? We have got an option on this plan. If you want to just do the strength workouts, that's absolutely fine. You need to tell me where you're looking after your cardio, but strength workout A and B for the first 2 weeks. Obviously, it changes from next week, but yeah, you can absolutely just do the 4 strength workouts a week rather than 2 strength and 2 cardio. Dieting for a while, hit a plateau, should I drop calories further? Again, I think we've covered this. It's something that just be aware, is that really what the focus is going to be, or should we get your body healthier in a better position to make these changes, make these transformations? Last thing, but big swings in weight, big changes. Often this is when you gain a lot of weight from eating more, usually it's because you've been in a deficit for quite a long time. It's not actually fat gain, it's because you get energy back into your muscles and you store a little bit of water as well with that. So more food, that's why you go on sort of big swings after a meal out and things like that. You don't really gain sort of 4 pounds of fat. It's just that your body finds it easier to store more water. It will generally hold more water, and it'll certainly hold more glycogen as well. So after a few days eating more, you might be 4 or 5 pounds heavier. And if you are, there might be no change at all in body composition. The exact same the other way though. So if you've been eating a decent amount and you're sort of always well fueled, and then you go into either a diet or more training, you might drop all this from your muscles before there's any change in body composition. It's just fluctuations in weight rather than always be body composition change. So, guys, that is everything. If there's any more questions, fire them over. I'll answer them in a different video. I'll probably put them on to next week, or send them as a message, and I'll get back to you directly.
Certainly can't add any more time onto this one.
It weren't that bad. 1 hour 20. That's all right.
Oh, no, you was on for 1 hour 20. Everyone else has been here for an hour and a half, mate. You was 10.
All right, okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. It was, like I said, it'll be part A and B. It'll be straightforward enough. See you later, and thank you very much. Cheers.
Cool. Cheers, guys.